Next up, Gene Okerlund is backstage with Mr. Perfect. Perfect says he's on a roll this week. He's hit a hole in one. He's hit the jackpot at the casinos. And then he can't pronounce the narcissist, Lex Luger, so he gives up and walks away.
He did that on purpose. He was trying to say Lexicist.
I don't believe he was, to be honest, Matt.
Well, he coined a genius term if he wasn't there. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, wow, Lexicist.
And he just walked away because he just couldn't get it right. So I'm just going to go to the ring now, forget it. It's like, basically, like, I was half expecting Gene Okerlund to turn around and goes, hey, we're live, pal. Because it was like, come on, Perfect, finish this off. This leads to another match, which I think probably shouldn't have happened at this show. Lex Luger versus Mr. Perfect. It's a match that lasts for just over, nearly 11 minutes. It ends when Mr. Perfect, going for a backslide, he's overpowered by Luger. Luger puts him into a backslide, but as he does the backslide, Perfect's feet are clearly in the ropes, but the referee doesn't see it, and Luger gets the pin. After the match, Luger hits him with a forearm and knocks him out based on the fact that Luger had a metal object in his arm. This is obviously a legacy of Luger's motorcycle accident, which had happened the previous year, which kept him from competing at the World Bodybuilding Federation events, which is why he never ended up competing at all for the WBF, despite being signed specifically for that thing. And then WBF Titan Sports, deciding they need to get their money's worth, and so made him a wrestler instead. And that's the match. But the reason I say it shouldn't have happened is that this should have been Flair versus Perfect. This should have been Ric Flair versus Mr. Perfect. But for some reason, Vince has decided to tell Flair, don't worry, we're not going to use you again. I don't get it.
Yeah, I completely agree. This was a strange one because again you've got the whole bad finish going on here, haven't you? I mean, Perfect was actually assaulted by one of Luger's ladies when he came down, which I thought was not very nice. A little chest rub, which I don't think he consented to. Again, I thought this was mostly boring. The finish was abysmal. They did a finish where Perfect's feet were in the ropes just after the ref had broken up the same thing. It's just like, come on, this is such bad storytelling. And then the angle afterwards, they set up Michaels and Perfect, which again, Perfect didn't win. It's like, why? Like, Michaels, he got Vince's ear already. Like, he just doesn't lose. He doesn't lose. I wish Brett didn't lose.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot to this one either, was there? It was another one that, I completely agree, didn't really have much of a place on the card. And what can I say about it? Mr. Perfect, he bumped all over the place to, again, try and make Lex look good. But, yeah, there wasn't a whole lot to it. It was there. It was fine. Now,
we also had earlier on in the show been told that Luger had at the WrestleMania brunch, which is the second time we've encountered the WrestleMania brunch, which I wish was still a thing. I don't know.
I've been to one.
You have been? What was that? What year was that?
It was WrestleMania 19, and the highlight was someone said, so there was a Q&A and the wrestlers weren't all that amazing. I think Big Show was up there, and someone was like, Big Show, why are you... Basically, it wasn't quite like that. Big Show's response was, I've got a big fat bank account, so I don't give a fuck. And this is in front of a lot of families at this brunch, and the food was absolutely shocking. It was shocking. We were staying at the W Hotel in Seattle, which might be the best breakfast I've ever had. And then I left there where I had a free breakfast paid for and went to WrestleMania brunch and had cold, Parmentier potatoes, cold little potatoes, a bit of American bacon when it's all like crusty and not nice. And it was just awful, absolutely shocking. So yeah, that I've been to, I think that might have been the last one actually.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if Big Show had been more controversial and whatnot.
Yes.
So basically, Big Show's
was on the thing as well. Actually, sorry, I've just remembered. I don't remember much he said. Someone said something about him being injury prone as well. So it was quite a tough crowd at that WrestleMania brunch. Yeah,
he was always sensitive to that topic.
He was. Yeah.
So basically, Big Show and Randy Orton's fault that we don't get the brunch anymore. But at this particular brunch, Bret Hart apparently had been knocked out by Luger with this forearm. So Luger was all over the place, and they were pushing him big as a heel during this period. And I wonder if they baked in that stuff with Luger and Bret to explain further Bret's loss to Yokozuna. Or that was an attempt. They didn't make enough of it, I didn't think, in the main event, though, to actually for it to be operative in any way. But I struggle to know what they were hoping to do with Luger long term, to be honest, because they didn't see this through at all. Obviously, it was July when Luger finally turned babyface on the USS Intrepid, slamming Yokozuna and then challenging him for the title at SummerSlam. But I don't know where they were going with him as a heel. It was almost like it felt like this was a placeholder because they decided to let Flair go and they wanted Perfect and Bobby Heenan ultimately to continue their feud. And so this was the best way to do it, was to have Luger sort of go up against Mr. Perfect. But I don't know what they had planned for Luger long term.
No, it's all very messy, isn't it? Because you think Also, even Luger not winning the title at SummerSlam. Now, I wouldn't have done that because I would have had Brett in there still as champion. But if you're going to go that way, why are you holding that off to WrestleMania? I don't, and obviously they couldn't hold it off to WrestleMania because Brett would get better reactions and all that sort of stuff, and not the reason why he got the title at WrestleMania 10. But you can't even Luger celebrating that count out at SummerSlam made him look like an idiot. I really did. You're absolutely right, Ben. This is fascinating. If I could pick into the mind of Vince McMahon, I wouldn't want to pick around in there too much really, but get all the bad stuff away and just pick into his booking decisions and really go deep dive on this stuff from this period. These are the few years you'd want to do really, I guess. 92 WrestleManias, probably through to Survivor Series 97. If you were going to pick a 5-year period of time, fascinating stuff because there's so much that goes on in the company, and it's just very, very strange versus what came before and what came afterwards.
Well, we said on previous episodes of this podcast as well that during this period or prior to this period, people didn't turn babyface and heel very much. But of this crew, they're all switching over. Ramon and Luger become baby faces very, very soon after the show, even though they've not long been into the company. So they're kind of all over the place. It just doesn't, as I said, it just feels like Vince is second guessing himself all the time and just has lost confidence. And that would happen, I suppose, when you've had this golden period and a formula that's worked so well for you and a set of stars that have sold huge amounts of pay-per-views and tickets and merchandise, and suddenly business is dropping off and you don't know how to arrest the slide. I guess you would start double thinking yourself and second guessing yourself.
I think this is the point. And what was it? Memphis used to do half Jerry Jarrett, half Jerry Lawler booking. But this is the point in time where Vince needed some help. Now I know Watts came in for a little bit around this time, and I think this was obviously in Vince's mind. And Watts loved Bret Hart, obviously clearly a good judge of talent, but. That's what you needed. And actually, the company didn't really turn around until, I hate to say it, Russo and Ferrara came with Vince overviewing. And Vince in this time, as you say, he just wasn't sure of himself. He'd been so sure of himself and created so much good stuff. And I wonder whether some of this goes back to the Warrior, perhaps, Ben. Perhaps that's the first chink in his armor, really, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. His instinct for the Warrior was off, basically. Yeah. And I think that after that, he started to question those instincts a little bit. He did have support. He had Bruce Pritchard at times, and Jim Cornette came in, obviously, and various others.
Patterson, I suppose.
Pat Patterson, yeah. But it wasn't the same. I think when you mentioned Memphis there, I can't remember who it was. Someone was. I remember many years ago listening to someone talk about the fact that what they used to do is it might not have been Memphis, but it was certainly one of the territories. They used to bring in a booker, and they'd only do it for sort of 18 months, and then they'd say, right, we need somebody else, regardless of how good it was, because ultimately they knew you'd burn out after 18 months. And you need someone to come in with new ideas, fresh perspective, and go into something else who would change the booking rhythm of the company. They changed who they were pushing because it just freshened everything up. And it's something that wrestling's got away from because of the long tenure of Vince. Really, more than anything else, and therefore, when new people come into the sort of world of pro wrestling or start to run their own stuff, they kind of think that's the thing that's done, is that you just have to keep going for as long as you can. But it's just not, historically, wasn't really the way it was done.
No, definitely not.